Violinists, stop making a scratchy sound. If you are a beginner or an intermediate level violin player and you're still making a scratchy sound, you should make it your priority to improve your bow control and to start making a better sound right now. And you can do this by following my 5 steps of better bow control. And I can assure you that you will start to sound better by the time you have reached the end of this video. Hello, I am Henriette, so let's get started. The first step is to improve the way you hold the bow. And there are many videos here on YouTube that tell you how to hold the bow, so I assume that you know the basics of your middle finger and your thumb being opposite one another, your index finger being a space away from your middle 2 fingers, a space also in between your ring finger and your pinky being nice and round on the bow. But that is only the beginning, and the next step is to make that bow hold softer so that you're not squeezing the bow, but that instead the bow is balanced between your fingers of your right hand. So do you think when you hold the bow like this that you can pull the bow away out of your hand, or that you're squeezing the bow too hard and that you cannot let go? And that is the trick to your success here. You have the correct bow hold, but now you want to hold it very softly and not squeeze that bow. So you can pull it out of your fingers and it is more balanced than a hold. It's really a strange word, isn't it? Bow hold. It should be called bow balance. So now let's practice bowing with that softer bow hold, and I'm going to try bowing without a violin. You can do this in your elbow like this, or you can do this on your shoulder, in which case I am just going to get a cloth underneath. So either way, your elbow or your shoulder is fine, whichever way you prefer, but the point is that you play with soft and relaxed fingers and you trust that you will not drop the bow. Now try to ease your shoulder down, and I'm wondering now if you can feel that when you bow like this, the bow is manipulating your fingers rather than your fingers manipulating the bow. Because of the angle the bow is moving at, you can perhaps feel that the bow is now pushing my little finger up and allowing my little finger to stretch. And this is a very intricate movement that early beginners find extremely difficult because they are wanting to hold the bow really tightly, you see. So you want to practice this and trying to release that bow hold and make it softer a little bit every day. Now we can also approach this bending and stretching of your fingers in a different way by holding the bow vertically, and now I'm going to move my bow up towards the ceiling, thereby making my fingers more round. Can you see that? And now I'm going to move the bow down towards the floor, and that is easier to do it this way, trying to stretch your little finger like that, so bending it as you move the bow upwards and straightening your little finger as you move the bow down. And this movement is a very good exercise to do in the same way that you practice horizontally as we were doing it earlier on. You see, it's the same movement for my fingers all the time, encouraging my fingers to soften and to relax. Now let's continue our practice in the air with no violin, and let's now add to this bending and stretching of your little finger. Let's now add having a more flexible wrist. So I'm picking up my wrist this way when I move the bow up, and I'm pretending to push my wrist out in that direction when I play a down bow. So push your wrist up this way and down that way. Up that way while you bend your little finger, and squeeze your wrist out that way while you straighten your little finger. And now you can perhaps feel the mechanics of bowing, which is going to help you make your bow strokes much less scratchy. So as you become more familiar with this wrist action, let's go more and more horizontal with your bow. So we started off here, and now let's go more and more horizontal and feel your wrist and your little finger incorporating. And it may well be that today you don't feel this at all. Give it a go nevertheless, because over the next couple of days and weeks you are going to feel more of it. Now our fourth exercise is that we're going to practice playing with a more relaxed shoulder, and for that we're going to practice the feeling of how your arms fall down when you raise them and drop them. So let's put your violin or your bow in a safe place, and let's practice how this dropping of your arm feels. So I'm going to raise my arms and I'm going to do nothing, just let go of that tension and let my arms flop down. And this way, let's practice it again, you might feel how heavy your arms are. Should we practice that again? Let them just flop. If you feel yourself going like this down, you're not actually flopping your arms down. So let's raise your arms and take away that tension completely. So it's just flopping down and then dangling by your sides. And it's this feeling of relaxedness that we're going to be using on the violin. And I've done a whole course on this sort of principle that is going to help you play better in my Mindfulness for Violin Players course. And this is a whole course dedicated to learning to play with less tension. So I'll put a link up to that course right here, and I would encourage you to have a look at that course as well. Now this swinging and falling feeling is a great warming up exercise before you start your daily practice. So now let's grab your violin and let's put all these exercises together on your instrument. So we're going to bow on an open G string. Let's play in what I call the grand middle of the bow. So we're leaving the frog and the point of the bow unused for now. So a generous amount of bow in the middle of the bow. Later on, when you feel more secure with this exercise, you can extend it to include both ends of the bow as well. But for now, the grand middle of the bow is a good place to be. First of all, I'd like you to place the bow in the middle, and I want you to make sure you drop your shoulder and you lean the bow into the string as if your arm is hanging off the bow like that. So I'm not pushing the bow into the string, but I'm letting the weight of my arm do the work and I'm hanging off. So we're feeling that balance of the bow on the string. And while I'm doing that, I'm also trying to find that balance again of my bow hold. Remember how we started? We were not squeezing the bow. I could pull it easily out of my fingers. And this is the sort of balanced bow hold that I'm looking for right here. And my fingers of my bow hand are relaxed. They're not squeezing the bow because that creates a pushing sound into the string. But I'm relaxed and I'm hanging off it. So it's that hanging feeling that gives you a more scratch-free sound quality. So now let's play some bow strokes. And as you bow, try to keep your fingers as soft as possible. And can you remember that feeling that your fingers were manipulated by the bow and not doing the work themselves? You can see that the bow has now pushed my little finger into a bendy position. Check out my little finger while I bow again. There you go, that's lovely. Now on the next bow strokes, I would like you to try and involve your wrist. Remember we were going that way and that way with our wrist. So let's pretend the string is pulling your wrist outwards. And this time we attach our little string this way on your wrist and you involve your wrist this way. And now we pretend we remove our little string this way, this end, and I'm going to pull my wrist. And this side. aware that your shoulder stays down and that you keep hanging off the string. You don't need to lift the bow up, because if you feel that you're playing with a balanced bow stroke, you're not going to be too heavy into the string. You get that heaviness into the string when you're going to push the bow into the string. So that is the reason why so many people are very careful and are too light. And you get that bouncy bow stroke, you see. So let it hang. Let it hang is the key to your success here. So now that we can let it hang, we can try and add that falling feeling to our bow stroke. So putting it all together. So I'm really falling into the string here. And if you feel that you're going too slowly and you make this really crunchy sound, your bow is moving too slowly. So don't alter the weight of that falling arm into the string. Move the bow a little bit faster and you will find that your sound is improving. So coming back to it, first of all, we're relaxing our fingers and we're not squeezing the bow. Secondly, we are flexible with those fingers. Okay. Thirdly, we're going to add our wrist to that. Fourthly, we're dropping our shoulder down into the string. And our fifth way is finding that balance between the speed of the bow and the weight of the bow. If your weight is too great compared with the speed, you're going to be scrunchy. So you need to speed up the bow stroke. Keep the weight, that hanging feeling the same. If you're very, very light and if you are bouncy, drop more into the string. Hang off that string a little bit more. And eventually you should find the sweet spot of where you have enough weight into the string in comparison with the speed of the bow. This takes practice, as with all things violin, but today you have made a start to eliminating that scratchy sound, and for that I commend you. Really good work. So watch this video again, because there are lots of ideas in here that for me would be too much to take in all in one go. And tomorrow you'll pick up a few more things, and the day after tomorrow you get even better, and hopefully you can hear a difference in sound. And it would mean a lot to me if you could please subscribe to the channel if that is the case for you as well. And what it means when you subscribe to the channel is it gives me an indicator that I am creating helpful content for people, and I'm very grateful for your help in that respect. So I look forward to seeing you very soon. Thank you very much.